blazing so bright, calling the fight from vigilance. We stand from dawn to twilight. The empires rise and conquer. In the wild face of danger, carry on to the victory. You better take a deep breath. Each dawn it brings a bitter fight. Another chill may run down your spine. Fear looks beyond the edge of sight. Carry on to the glory, to the great victory. Never give up till you die. Never give up in this life. For every word that you win bright, it's time to become. Never give up on your mind. Hold your weapons, strive and fight. For every kingdom that falls and rise, it's time to become legendary. Chaos for sharpening your knife. Make way to find your destiny. Worship a man or a shrine. Can both recall is scattered. In the wild town of wardrobes, tearing down all the enemies. You better capture the arcs. The carriers may bug you down. Set up for the swiftest ride. Sneaky Texas work as a best alive. Carry on to the glory, to the great victory. Never give up till you die. Never give up in this life. For every word that you win bright, it's time to become. Never give up on your mind. Hold your weapons, strive and fight. For every kingdom that falls and rise, it's time to become legendary. Across the oceans, stories will be told. How you struggle, how you try to define the world. With a sacred name, you are the one chosen to start up the storm. Never give up till you die. Never give up in this life. For every word that you win bright, it's time to become. Never give up on your mind. Hold your weapons, strive and fight. For every kingdom that falls and rise, it's time to become legendary.
Hello, governors. Welcome back to the 2024 lower bracket round 2. I am your host, Plato Gaming caster and content creator for Rise of Kingdoms, and today we are joined by our fellow caster, Dirty Dan. Glad to be here with you, man.
Glad to be back, Plato, streaming with you, and yeah, we're getting into the nitty gritty of this tournament. So this is really ramping up, and we've seen some exciting stuff already, and it's only going to get spicier.
Yeah, man. I mean, the Grand Prix is indeed the pinnacle of Osiris League, where the best of the best teams from both the international server and the Chinese server get to compete to prove themselves as the best Osiris League teams in the world. Today, we are casting the lower bracket, meaning that these two teams are in a win or go home scenario. The first match that we are casting today will be an international server bout, 93T versus GV77. 93T are seen as one of the best international server teams, as they have won both the Realm of Horus and the Grand Finals of Osiris League the last 2 seasons. However, last week they suffered a loss against the Chinese powerhouses of 466S and are now attempting to make it through to the finals through a lower bracket run. GV77 also hail from the international server and qualified through the qualifier stage and are looking to get some revenge against 93T, as these two teams have faced off against each other in the first round where 93T took the victory. So Dirty Dan, my question to you is, will 93T redeem the international server through a lower bracket run, or will GV77 take revenge and move on to the next round? What are you thinking, sir?
I think that the experience of 93T is going to carry them here. As you mentioned, this is going to be a rematch from the first week, round 1 that we had in GV77, kind of getting knocked off there. But from casting GV77 last week, it looks like some of those things that caused them to lose in the first week against 93T, they've kind of sharpened up a little bit. They've kind of fine-tuned their plans, just doing some of those fundamental things, which in the first week kind of hindered them a little bit. Like whenever there was an advanced structure taken, they didn't have the proper garrison for it. But I mean, when you just lean on how much experience 93T has, and kind of already, as we see in the international server, kind of like evolve the meta before our eyes, and kind of establish some of these meta things. I think that you could just lean on that kind of experience. But last week, as I did cast the GV77 match with Brian against HJK, they did finally get like a nice stamp and a kind of a signature win that they kind of needed. So I know they're hungry. They're an up and coming kingdom and team, coming off a few really good KVK victories, and now looking to make a deep run and an upset here, I believe, if they can pull it off against 93T.
GV77. I mean, they did lose by about 9k, 10k against 93T in that first round. But as I said, that redemption match in the lower brackets last time around against HJK of all teams. HJK is no slouch. They are from 1188 against 93T. Some people said that was the true finals of Horus. So the second best team in the eyes of the people in Horus, they were able to beat. HJK, they also faced against a Chinese server team, and they were so close. The margins for that game were pretty similar to the margins of GV77. So as you said, ramping up in this tournament. And this tournament, if we go out to the macro side of things, has been horrible for the international server. Everyone is in the lower bracket. The upper bracket, which we'll be casting tomorrow, will be 4 Chinese server teams. We're going to be having some friendly fire today, Dirty Dan, as the 2 matches we're casting are going to be 4 international server teams, and only 2 can make it out. But these are going to be the best of the best international servers, and they're fighting for the chance to redeem the international server here. It should be some pretty good fun. We have a 93T GV77 right now. The match right after that will be 27WP and 489. And the winner of these 2 matches will be facing each other in the lower bracket round 3 next week. So there will be a lot of competition. What do you expect to see from these 2 teams? And what could GV77 do to shift the paradigm here and perhaps steal a win?
So just kind of like looking at the differences, it's nice because I've had the chance to watch them kind of 2 weeks in a row now 3, but they definitely did make some adjustments. And I think that we're seeing some of these international teams starting to kind of pull a little bit of strategy from what they're seeing with Chinese server teams. So what I noticed last week with GV77 is kind of taking a little bit more of an occupation approach. They did lose, I believe they lost 2 arcs last week. There was a 3 arc match. They lost 2 of them, but outpacing HJK in occupation score and also ramping up their provision score. They've done back-to-back weeks about 5k in provision. So again, that's kind of the approach that we've seen with some of these Chinese server teams that's really been kind of throwing a wrinkle into the meta that we are very used to within the international server. So I'm looking to see a little bit of the same from GV77. And with 93T, I'm just looking for them to just kind of like set the tone and just kind of be that 93T experienced team that we normally see. This is a winner go home matchup, so I don't think we're going to see any funny business. I think a lot of teams are going to kind of stick to their normal strategies here, and try to advance into these later rounds.
Well, we will not speculate anymore as we get into the game here. We have 93T in this top left corner. Silent Flow, Archie. Some very familiar names. Some staples of 93T. Meanwhile, we have GV77 in this bottom right side. It is going to be quite the game between these 2 teams. Again, these 2 teams are fighting for the Grand Prix lives. It is win or go home. The chat thinking, the chat seeing and voting for 93T to come out. And so are the votes, the bets in game. What do you expect to see from an open here, Dirty Dad?
Again, I think with them just trying to be a little bit safe, I think we're gonna see the traditional openings, going focusing on those inside lanes. I mean, there's a potential that we see a little bit of an overload on one of these sides, which we've kind of seen trickle in to the tournament a little bit. But again, with the Grand Prix hopes on the line, I don't think these teams are going to want to make a mistake. I think we're going to see a pretty traditional matchup here from what we usually see in the international servers. I think we're going to see probably at least 2 to 3 arcs, a probably pretty regular occupation game, and then I think the one thing that I'm going to definitely be looking out for is obviously, and what this Grand Prix is kind of started to circulate around is provisions. Like how are each team going to approach provisioning? Are they going to go right from the jump? I'm waiting for a team to have a few players go out and actually hunt down provisioners, because everyone it's been winning so many matches, and I think that it's something that you really have to honor and respect.
As the match gets going here, we see 4 rallies coming out from 93T, 2 rallies coming up from GV77. Let's see the rallies. It looks like they're only doing defensive rallies here. Pretty, it's not that standard. It's not crazy that they don't have offensive rallies, but usually you would see the standard 4 obelisk rallies. So perhaps there will be some shenanigans going on from GV77, but you can see the initial openings here. Nothing of note as of yet. Both teams using energetic. 93T being 10 seconds later. I don't know if that'll be a difference maker or not, but you can see that these obelisks are pretty much getting captured, mirrored here. Let's see if there's going to be any different placements in terms of the marches, in terms of if people are going to over-index in the inner lane, which is what we've seen from the Chinese server teams. 93T is known for their outer lane focus.
Yep.
So we'll have to see if they continue to do so here. As you
really
can see, sentry placed by
really
Shrine of War. Yeah.
On those sentries, like it's so interesting to see that like the Chinese server teams, I want to say a large majority of them will place the sentry right on the gates to kind of get a gauge on how many troops are going to each side, and we haven't seen the international teams adapt that at all. So very interesting take that they've started to pull some strategies from the Chinese server teams besides that opening sentry. It's quite interesting.
That opening sentry does have a lot of information, but you have to be very vigilant, right? You have to have someone looking at that information and saying, all right, this is how many marches going this lane, this is how many marches are going the other lane. And it also doesn't really impact that much in terms of that vision, because it shows which side they're going to, but not necessarily which lane. So yeah, perhaps that is why, but the Chinese server teams have been so dominant, so pretty surprising that they don't just mirror exactly what they've been doing with their winning strategies. And as you were talking about, provisions have been the name of the game. If you guys watched the recap, the highlights of last week, pretty much 75% were teams winning from provisions, which is crazy. Provisioners being super OP in this Grand Prix, and you can see that some of these marches are now starting to interact. Desert Altar, Murder Balls starting to stare at each other here. A little bit of a staring contest from these two teams, with the rally coming through. Surprised the rally hasn't been cancelled as of yet. It is also cavalry rally, so perhaps a little bit of chip damage, perhaps also taking away some TPs from GV77 there. In this outer lane though, it is absolutely no marches from GV77. Meanwhile, over-indexing into this inner lane, so perhaps trying to win a decisive murder ball around their Desert Altar and rotate over to the Sky Altar. What do you think of this initial placement of marches by GV77, Dirty Dan?
Yeah, I think that's exactly as you called it. I think they're going to look to hopefully have a little bit more presence here on this initial murder ball fight on their Desert Altar, and then going to look to swing around onto the Sky Altar, kind of going for that play that kind of forces teams to think right before that first mid arc fight. You know, do you want to go back and retake your altar, or are you going to live with it and commit a little bit more to that mid fight? So I think we're going to see exactly that from GV77 here.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be It's hard to tell with the murder ball because it's so close. They're so tied up, but hypothetically, GV77 should have the numbers advantage. Again, all these accounts have the same amount of commanders, same amount of troops, same gear, same armaments. So the only thing that should be the difference is the placement of the marches and the march selection. But as you can see, as predicted, 93T starting to get sad-faced here from this initial murder ball, looking like a 3-for-1 trade so far in terms of sad faces. And they will lose this murder ball. They are expected to lose this murder ball rather, but they should have full control in the outer lane in response. We'll see how GV77 respond to that, although there are a lot of GV77 sad faces coming out. Let's go out in dot mode, and actually we might have spoken too soon here.
Quite balanced.
93T actually having a balanced team fight here, even though they sent more marches in this outer lane. This desert altar control is absolutely shocking.
And sneaking into the desert altar there too.
They did sneak in. They also lost their topside desert altar. So perhaps the marches that were initially supposed to go in this outer lane in this bottom side actually went to the top side of the map. I mean, that's the only thing that I could think of, because this desert altar looks to be in 93T's control for quite some time. They do have a Heraclius with YSS in there as well. So good garrison in there. If we go ahead and shift over to the top side of the map, this is probably where the control for GV77 comes from. And they were actually trading the map vertically here, where 93T have the bottom side, GV77 outside of the Stride of War currently have the top side. And I'm not too sure how I feel about the positioning here from GV77. What do you think, Dirty Dan?
Yeah, I mean, that kind of like forward pressure from that desert altar now, kind of looking to maybe cycle up and zero out on some cities. They definitely have to keep in mind here that their mid rotation is going to have to come very soon. And 93T just having a really good presence. We saw last week with some Chinese server teams. I can't remember the team off the top of my head, but after winning an opposing structure and just kind of balling up right in front of the structure there seems to kind of be the way to go. I think GV77 may have overextended a little bit on that topside desert altar, but a really good take back, as we can see here on the bottom. So altar's looking to get a little bit more evened out.
Yeah, this is looking like, I mean, to be fair, there's 1 minute left for this first occupation points. This rotation of 93T marches have to take back this desert altar, or else first occupation points will be in jeopardy for them. Looks like this Eleanor is trying to hold on, but overall, if this gets retaken here from 93T, which it looks like it will be a direct trade of structures outside of the Shrine of Life. So everything has stabilized. GV77 will be able to take the desert altar about a minute earlier, but instead of that, everything should be normalized for this mid fight. And yeah, everything will be normalized. Desert altar somehow flipping yet again for GV77. These few marches from GV77 able to swarm back down the desert altar, delay the take from 93T just a little bit here. But all things considered, very, very even opening here, even though the desert altars were swapped. That was the only abnormality here. As we continue on with this mid fight that is going to spawn in about 4 minutes, and you could see the typical international server play, which is to rotate over around 4 minutes.
Yep. And I think that that retake on that topside desert altar was kind of key, because it allowed GV77 to stick a few marches in there and force 93T to swarm and zero out those marches, where if those marches were just in the field, 93T could just all but ignore them. So I think a little subtle, nice play there from GV77 to snipe back that desert altar and get a couple more quick refreshes there where they probably wouldn't have had those.
We see 93T retaking the desert altar of GV77, and this desert altar still has not gotten first occupation. That's 750 points that could go in the pocket of you and taken away from the opponent. So overall, the point differential would be 1.5k, which is half an arc worth of first occupation points. GV77, they are starting to rotate middle, but they probably are second guessing themselves about this desert altar. They don't want to give this up for free. They're probably going to rally it down, have one person swarm it, and we'll have to see what this pays off for 93T. If they hold this, they are going to be well in the advantage in terms of occupation. They are well in the advantage in terms of tempo, because they were actually behind in their Desert Altar capture, but now that they're able to flip the Desert Altar of GV77, it's looking pretty solid for them. And the status quo right now is actually going to be a win for 93T as we go into the Sky Altar in the top side as well. And this is what we were talking about, 93T having this outer lane focus, these Desert Altar these altar focuses rather. And even though they did rotate middle, it does look like they are also going structures here, Dirty Dan.
Yeah, I was about to call that out. And obviously we can see it from our perspective. GV77 doesn't really have, they can kind of get a gauge, but from our perspective here, it is very clear to see that 93T is taking a little bit more of a structure focused game, at least to open this thing up. And it's going to be curious to see if GV77 has the resources enough to kind of win this arc the way that they need to. And then, you know, it's going to kind of be leaving them in the driver's seat on if they on what they decide to do with the arc. But just under 2 minutes there until arc spawns, and this match is looking pretty interesting so far. You're getting two tails of the tape, like I think we've seen one team opting for structures, the other team opting for a little bit more of a mid focus.
And the thing about going structures first arc is you have to make it worth your while. If 93T are able to take this Desert Altar and get the first occupation points, that's already half of the arc score in first occupation points alone. Plus, having the 4 altars, GV77 would be losing this trade for sure. What GV77 would gain, though, is the ability to decide how many arcs are going to be captured, when the first arc will be captured. We'll see if they'll be able to leverage that ability, that tempo, into the rest of the match here. But so far in this trade, 93T has been winning, and it's not even close.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people kind of undervalue the 4 altar cap. Like if you get that thing, if you get those generating points for you,
and first occupation on one of them, on one of your opponent's altars, 1.5k points, Dirty Dan.
It's insane how big of an impact 4 altars can really start to add up on you.
Yeah, and you can see that there is sneaky tactics used by 93T in this middle side so that they could still attack this attack the arc carriers, but Desert Storm in response by GV77. So all of the marches lose their stealth. GV77 now abandoning middle here, trying to get back some of these structures. Looks like they're trying to attack the Shrine of War. Looks like they're approaching the Desert Altar. So the call here from GV77 is, hey, we have a free middle. Let's try to move these marches now. But to be fair, it is a little bit too little too late. If you look at the score, it's 6.4k to 2.8. This arc is only worth 3k. Even if they capture this arc, they will be down by about 700, 800 points.
And I just gotta call out Plato's, you know, like I love to do. Provisioners on the board, heavy for 93T.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 provisioners to
Really
none from
heavy.
GV77.
I think we're probably going to expect, with 7 provisioners out this early, we can probably expect anywhere from the range of 6,000 to 7,000 potential points here for 93T. So chat, just keep that in mind as this match progresses. 93T is taking a very heavy provisioning approach along with their occupation strategy.
I mean, 93T last week lost to provisioning, essentially. It was a pretty even match, but with their loss against 4-6 Success, one of the best Chinese servers, find Chinese teams in the Chinese server, it is, you know, they lost to arc score, yes, but it was made up via provisions. So they're saying, hey, we saw how it worked against the Chinese server. We saw what they did to us. We are attempting to do this against GV77, and perhaps refining that skill so that if we make it back up through this lower bracket run, we can also employ this skill against the Chinese server teams later on in the tournament here. So you love to see kind of the adaptation, that innovation from 93T.
Yeah, and I gotta say too, like I'm getting flashbacks of the first round. Like GV77 looked to have cleaned up a lot last week, and kind of taking an occupation approach with some provisions. And like I'm looking here on the side for GV77, there's no provisioners. They went for like the strategy that kept them alive last week against a very, as we were talking about before the match started, in a very favorable team in HJK from a Kingdom 1188. Keeping them alive against a team like that and then kind of changing the strategy just kind of like makes me scratch my head. I'm just very curious as to why ruin something if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thought process, you know. So GV77's got a really big uphill battle here. I think this is going to have to be, you're gonna have to make a provisioning call at some point to stay in this match, and then also you're gonna have to start really cashing in on some of these arcs. You gotta cash them quick too.
Yeah, I mean, they are starting to take back some of their structures. All of the structures retaken except for the Desert Altar. The Desert Altar defense has been insane from 93T. It looks like it should fall soon, but even if it falls, it takes another 2 minutes after capturing to start generating points. You can see the point differential, 660 points per minute to 130 points per minute, is absolutely insane. And now you have to start questioning, does GV77 just capture the arc and try to gamble on a second fast mid fight?
Yeah, if they can. And 93T is doing a great job just pestering this arc carrier and like a player or two worth of commitment just to escort this arc. And it's not taking 93T much to disrupt this. And again, those are valuable resources that GV77 really needs on those outside lanes, on those inside lanes, focusing on structures to try and get their team back into this. And they're struggling so hard right now to capture this arc.
This one player, Sin Y or Sinny, being the mosquito that GV77 have to consistently swat away from this arc. And you will see that the timer here has actually been reset from 93T. In all honesty, that would usually be a bad play because that means GV77 could hold for longer. But with how this match is going, you actually want them to hold the arc for longer. You have been winning the building game this whole time. You are up by about 5.7k without any arc, with just by occupations. This match is going super insane, super well for 93T. GV77, as we said, are going to capture this arc, so they will have a redemption. They will be able to fight for a second arc in about 8 minutes here, but this second arc at this point is a must win. Meanwhile, 93C could pretty much rinse and repeat with the differential that they were able to make. They're up by about 3.8k, and if they really wanted to, for the second arc, they can go structures again.
Yeah, I think if I'm 93T, I think I make the call to go all in for, not all in, but go, hey, let's go get this arc and then let's hold it. And then let's just bleed this thing out. We've been so dominant on structures so far. Let's go and grab this arc. Let's obtain the tempo. We know that GV77 needs to cache probably 3, potentially push it to 4, although it's very rare to see in international Osiris League play, let alone Grand Prix play. But at the rate that this is going, GV77 looks like they need 4 arcs. So if I'm 93T, I'm really pondering the call to go in a little bit heavier on this mid fight to steal that second arc that's going to spawn in just a little over 7 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, they are up by about now 4.1k, and they still have the provisioners, which we were referring to. Usually when you see provisioners out, that means that they will start, bringing in the provisioners for the mid fight, or that they will just go buildings, because the lack of marches from provisioners, what happens with provisioners is you're essentially giving up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 open field marches so that you can gain points out through the caravans. What that means is usually that's more impactful for the mid fights, because that is a straight up confrontation with your opponents. The building game is a lot more easier to provision with, because that is all about tempo, that is all about timing, that is all about coordination with your team. And you can be down 8 marches while also being effective, taking enemy structures, which we've seen from the Chinese server. I will say though, GV77, they probably saw that, 93T have some provisioners out. They have 5 provisioners out as well, but that is not nearly the same amount as 93T.
Yeah, and I think it's a good call there from GV77. Like, again, I think that most teams now, I think you have to at least throw 1 or 2 marches to start the match, just to kind of get it going. You know that you're going to have to counteract the provisions to some extent, as 93T is just looking so dominant on these buildings right now, still kind of pestering that bottom side desert altar for GV77, putting constant pressure on them. And then we're going to see even that sky altar too on that outside lane flip over to control for 93T, and just really hammering this pressure on structures all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, able to defend their desert altar, able to flip the desert altar of GV77. GV77 was able to flip the sky altar, but they were able to take it back right away. So all of these traits and the structures have been consistently positive for 93T, which is, you know, what we expect to see from 93T, why they are the favorites in this match according to chat, according to the in-game bets. What does GV77 Dirty Den have to do to get back in this game?
They have to, I think that they're taking the right steps so far, right? They're starting to match provisions a little bit. They're somewhat stabilizing their occupations, but I think they have to do a little bit more on the occupation side. At the very least, on their home altars, or their home structures, I should say, they can't lose those anymore. Like, they have to kind of shell up a little bit and just really kind of bank on capturing more arcs. I think that's probably the main way that you can kind of counteract this strategy here when you go for occupation and for provisions, or do something that I called out in the very beginning of the match that we haven't seen anyone do, is go and send out a player or two and hunt for the provisioners, right? It is a little bit of a bold play, because even if you kill a provisioner in a node, they're still going to cash in those provisions. But at least you get 93T thinking about the fact that there is someone out there kind of trying to snag points away from you a little bit. So I think they're taking the appropriate steps here. I just think that they have to really hunker down a little bit more on their home structures.
Hunkered down indeed, as they have a ton of marches coming up to defend the sky altar, which is step 1. That's what you said. They need to hunker down. They need to hold the sky altar. Sky altar looks like it should be, with the amount of red marches, it should be safe, but there are a lot of blue marches up here, Dirty Dan. Will they be able to perform step 1? I don't think so. 93T
It doesn't look like it.
able to flip the sky altar, and this is all they need to do, right? They just need to flip the sky altar. They have the garrison in there. And the thing is, now all their marches are going to sad face, and they have tempo to go wherever they want. They could go middle. They could go back to the sky altar. The sad facing of the marches is absolutely in the 93T's favor. And GV77, these marches out in the outer lane here that are super low, they're looking to be sad faced, but they also want to take back the structure. It's kind of like a double-edged sword, double losing sword, because if you win this, then all your marches will be low, and you can't rotate middle. If you lose this, then you lose your sky altar. So it's kind of like, what do you do for GV77 in this outer lane? And we're talking about this arc being a must-win. Razor thin margins for GV77 with their arc focus. It's 2 minutes left, and it's a ghost. It's a ghost town next to this Temple of Osiris. We see one guy from 93T just frolicking out in the desert. Instead of that, there's barely anyone out here. This is looking so interesting. This mid fight is a must-win for GV77.
Yeah, I agree, and that play on that outside sky altar was huge, and I think again, 93T, as we kind of called it out in the beginning of the match, like just staying home and doing the things that they know that they're good at, and we've seen it even in the regular Osiris League run that they had of that focus that they put on the outside lanes, and then not to mention, as you called out, just a little under 2 minutes before mid arc spawns, they're eliminating that first step that GV77 needs to do in securing their home structures and really forcing them to say, oh my gosh, we need to get this home structure back, but we have 2 minutes until arc, guys. What do we do? So 93T just looking so crisp right now, looking in the driver's seat and really kind of dictating the tempo to GV77.
GV77, though, they were able to accomplish step 1. So this is check. This is check of Dirty Dan's playbook, how to get back into the game. They got all of their home structures, except for this one outpost. But instead of that, they got everything. Step number 2, you have to win this arc. And if I were to say right now, 93T look like they have the tempo advantage for this arc. I will say this, Dirty Dan. There is more marches middle for 93T, more marches out in the open field for GV77. And this is what I was talking about. These marches now have to take the walk of shame.
Yep.
Then they're kind of confused. They're like, all right, let's walk home.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, never mind. Let's go to the desert altar. This is exactly what we're talking about, because this tempo for GV77 is not looking like they can contest this middle fight, because 93T have been able to out-tempo GV77.
Absolutely. And we kind of talk about it, right? Like, look, they're you know, as much as you could talk about accounts and strategies and all, like, there's a level of composure that you need to have as a player. And I think we just saw it there with that one player kind of not really knowing what to do, kind of feeling a little bit scatterbrained. And I totally understand where they're coming from. I've felt that many a times before playing in ARC matches.
ARC has spawned though. 93T, they're engaging, but this is a clean pull from GV77. So this will be a clean pull from GV77, a very, very late contest from 93T. I'm actually very surprised because they had the open field advantage. They should be able to track down this march though, as this bog down is bogging down. This isn't even an arc area. This is an open field march. It's Huaki Bing William, which is a great march, by the way, but not great for arc carrying. You could see that it has fallen, and 93T should have full control of this mid fight with the amount of marches that they have committed here.
Yeah, it was kind of like a little bit of a fake out there that GV7 that 93T, I'm sorry, kind of played there, allowing kind of just GV7 to kind of march up to the Temple of Osiris. So a little bit of an interesting strategy there, maybe kind of that playing with your food kind of analogy that we use. But 93T looks to have pure control of this middle, and should capture this arc, and most likely look like they might be coasting into the next round here. Plato, it's not looking good for GV77.
This is looking like a repeat of the first round. This is absolute domination from 93T. I mean, GV77 did exactly what they need to do, step 1, but step 1 took so many resources, taking back the structures, that they could not execute step 2, which is to take back this arc. And this arc is super, super clean, unless there's some master strategies, but they did use skills mid. They did use bog down. They did use dust up. Bog down, dust up in return from 93T. But obviously the return of investment is in 93T's favor, because they were able to get the arc. They were able to get the win in that middle. And now with 3.5k in the pocket, they can essentially just hold this arc for as long as they want to and delay that third arc to until they're ready for it. Man, this is absolute dominance from 93T. And this is what you want to see as an international server fan. It doesn't matter who wins. In all honesty, it matters what their form looks like. And 93T's form looks impeccable so far against GV77.
Yeah, I agree. This was a really, really clean showing from 93T. And we are going to get a third arc, but again, with the point differential that we're at right now, plus the 3,500 points from the second arc, I mean, you're looking at almost a 9,000 point gap that is going to be looming on GV77. And then you also have to take into account the provisioners. And then you also have to take into account that 93T has just been dominating in the occupation score, winning by large margin of like about 7,500 points right now. So it's looking pretty grim for GV77 here, Plato.
You can see that 93T, their structures did flip on this bottom side, but that was because those marches were middle. Now that the marches are back, we're talking about how all these accounts are even, Dirty Dan. So how has 93T just been able to take structures over and over again from GV77? It's all the same accounts, all the same equipment. Like, what has been the difference maker for 93T here?
It's got, I mean, there's definitely a number of things, but I think timing is definitely going to be the number one call out. Although here on this Desert Altar here, it's insane, honestly. That 93T has been able to put that much pressure on a structure that's so close to GV77 in terms of refreshes. So I think it just speaks to the timing, even more so, that 93T has, having the ability to launch rallies on a proper timing, accompanied with the swarm. Because if you're setting a rally onto a structure without proper swarm support, you're not really going to get much value out of it. So I think the timing on 93T, and again, it just shows who's the more experienced team, especially when you talk about timings like that.
As we have Cassicker today, because GV77 should be able to defend this structure. But on the whole, a 1v1 in these lanes, 93T have been the aggressors compared to GV77. Sky Altar has been retaken, is starting to generate points soon. And honestly, 93T don't even need to play aggressive. That's the beauty of having this arc, is they don't even need to cross the halfway point. They could just fill their structures, provision up, and have a good game here. It is GV77 that have to be in the offensive. And where we're going to go back to those steps, there might have to be an extra step here, though. What does GV77 have to do to get back into this game? They are down by about 4.6k. They also are, that's without the arc, 3.5 being cashed in. So that's about 4.6, 3.5. That's about 8.1, right? If I did the math correctly. They're down by 8.1k points. How do you get back from an 8k deficit in Ark of Osiris?
Yeah, you got to go for the 4 altar cap and look to hold those for a significant amount of time. And that's exactly what 93T did on that first, kind of that first series right before the first arc. The 4 altar swing, when you have those generating points, and even when you're denying some points with an altar, even if you have 3 generating points for you, or even 2 generating points, but you're denying points from the opponent, those altar swings are so massive in terms of points. So GV77, and in all honesty, in order to get back into this match, has to get an altar swing of that caliber and hold it for like at least 5 minutes, and then on top of that, they're gonna have to go and win the last arc. So a really tall task, really tall task for a team that hasn't been able to really play to the occupation game that well.
On top of this, on top of that, there's a lot of if-else statements. If this, then GV77 will be able to win. But the status quo for 93T is exactly what they want. They just want the structures to be even.
Yep.
And they will win this game. Again, this game is a win or go home scenario for these two teams. We are in the lower bracket, so these games are going to be more on the line here. Razor thin margins for these teams, because if they lose this game, they are packing it up, going home. Grand Prix 2024 run for the team is over. You've already had 4 teams pack it up and go home. These teams not wanting to be like those teams, but it is looking more and more like 93T have this in the bag. Again, the winner of this match will be fighting against the winner of the next match, which is 27 WP versus 489. So we got the whole bracket on this stream. It is going to be a clash of the international server, as these 4 teams are probably some of the most strongest teams in the international server that we have currently in the brackets. So it is going to be super interesting to see who gets to fight who. And, you know, the Chinese server has been super dominant, Dirty Dan. What do you think of this tournament style? And what do we think of 93T if they're able to progress here?
I think what we've seen in this tournament is just, you know, first off, how important practice is. I think you've been able to see that. And that was a call out that people even in chat were saying in those first few weeks, that the Chinese server teams were practicing 3, 4, 5 times a week, sometimes 6 times a week, which is in my mind unheard of. I mean, I've seen and been in some kingdoms for Osiris League runs, and like maybe it's like, hey guys, you want to get together for practice? Or from what I've heard from some 1093 friends, like they do a couple practices a week. But I think the first thing there to cue in on from this tournament so far has been you can see who practices. And from practicing so much, you can kind of get different scenarios, right? And I think that's where meta strategies kind of evolve. And I think that's probably where we saw, some of this occupation and provisioning strategy really kind of come into play and now kind of making its way into the meta. We see a team like 93T that's been so dominant in the international servers now starting to adapt that themselves and really showing how efficient that it could be against GV77 here. So it's been kind of like almost like a revelation tournament where I think people are going to kind of dive into this a little bit more, look at strategy in a little bit different scope, and then try and figure out different ways to kind of come up with these dubs.
It has been a masterclass of Arc of Osiris League play, as Arc has been captured, by the way. So there will be another Arc fight in about 8 minutes here. But going back to the point, it has the level of competition. These are the best of the best teams, as the international server, the champions, as well as 4 qualifier teams, the Chinese server, the champions, as well as 4 qualifier teams, are the teams that are in this tournament, which is why the games have been so close, why the games have been so riveting. And I think one thing about the Chinese server is that they are super flexible with the way they play. The international server, for so long, we've had 8 seasons of Osiris League, 8 seasons, and for those 8 seasons, it has been the same bog standard: go middle or go home. Hold the arc here, take that there. The Chinese teams have definitely brought a wrinkle, especially with the provisions, especially with the building game, and 93T is looking like they are adapting so far. Look at the amount of provisioners they have, Dirty Dad. This is gathering central from 93T, just trying to adapt their strategy, trying to, improve themselves. Iron sharpens iron here, and GV77 being the sharpener for 93T's run, it looks like, as they are down by about 9k. But 93T trying to adapt and trying to overcome the Chinese server through this lower bracket run.
Yeah, and I think when you call it the provisions, and as you mentioned as well, the highlights, we had 2 or 3 highlights from last week on provisions winning matches. I think honestly the glaring thing is you saw in that first week 732A knock off an international server giant in 60 GT, provisioning 7,000 worth of points. I've never seen that before. I've seen 5,000, maybe 6 on a good day, but honestly, really, like, the standard for international was like 4,000 to 5,000. Once it's kind of made apparent that you can put up 7,000 points in provisions, I think you really kind of have to look inward and say, hey, there's different ways to approach this, and we really need to kind of fine tune. And honestly, props to 93T for kind of taking those adjustments and running with them. And honestly, if we didn't have alliance names here and it was just blurred out, you could have fooled me in saying that the team in blue was a Chinese server team. That's how well 93T has played and adapted that strategy from the Chinese servers.
Yeah. Hold the structures, win occupation differential. They've been playing to the script of this meta, which has been occupations and camel play. The thing that's so tricky, Dirty Dan, about going middle, about going arc, which we've seen from this match alone, is all the other team has to do is win one of these middle fights, and they should win off the occupation provisions. Like, if you don't get 7 or 4 arcs, rather, if you don't get 4 arcs, you are destined to lose if you only go buildings. Because that 7k that we're referring to is essentially more than the first and second arc. You'd have to get the second and third arc just to get 7.5k.
Yep.
So that's the difference between these teams, and that's the difference between why we've been seeing so many occupations be the highlight of matches. But it does look like 93T will be going middle for this third and potentially last arc here, trying to work on their middle game, trying to work on their middle fight game against GV77.
Yeah, and I think you kind of mentioned something which sparked a thought, and I can't remember who said it. All these matches week to week are starting to kind of blur together at this point now. But someone made the good point of like when you go mid, right? And I think a lot of what we've seen too from the Chinese server teams, and all the teams in general actually is kind of adapting to this fog of war, and I think really using it to your advantage for these mid fights, right? Because the big question mark now, whenever you're going mid, is the other team going mid? If they are going mid, how many marches are they bringing? Because as you talk about over indexing, like you can totally over index on going mid, and then the other team's just not there, and now you have, you know, however many marches just sitting there doing nothing, and that's so much wasted value.
Twisting their hair, looking at the desert tumbleweed.
It is huge. It is huge what Fog of War has really done to kind of impact Osiris League gameplay, and I think that we're seeing that really come to light in this tournament run here.
Yeah, but as we see, all of the marches here pouring into the middle here, pouring in. So both teams, they probably know that, hey, there's going to be a mid fight. 933 definitely know, because GV77, for them to even make this game close, they need to win this arc.
Yep.
933, they could have won buildings again. They could have done what they've been doing, but they are going full in for this mid fight, perhaps trying to work on their middle game.
I think too, also, if GV77 is able to get the arc, get a quick score, it does kind of keep the hope a little bit alive that there is a fourth arc. It would be really, really close. But I think with 93T kind of knowing that they say, hey, let's go in, let's get this arc, and then we'll just hold it and then truly bleed this thing out.
GV77 down by almost, let's round up to 10k.
Yeah, it's close enough. Yeah.
Let's round up to 10k. Make it easier for everyone. They are down by 10k. The 10k horizon. The difference of 93T. For them to make a dent into this lead, they have to capture this arc. They have to capture a fourth arc somehow. And then they would probably still be down. That would be about, this arc's gonna be 4. The next arc would be 4.5. That'd be 8.5k differential.
Yeah, it's amazing.
They would still be down in terms of arcs here.
It's amazing to say that they could score 2 arcs and really expensive arcs too, at as you said, 4,000 and 4,500 respectively, and still be down. It's insane to see how much emphasis and how effective, I should say, the occupation strategy has been.
We could see that these two murder balls starting to move around this arc. GV77, their shoulders are touching the Temple of Osiris. This is their timeout zone. This is their way of saying, we got the dominance here. Simplified mode. We are not going simplified. We are going to dust up from 93T. We got 40 seconds until this arc spawns. Both teams just waiting for their last couple of marches.
Good old
we see
Western
Bogdown used by
showdown.
GV77. This should initiate the fight. We got the Venn diagram of death. GV77 to the death. What does 93T know to the death? It's Heaven's Grace in response. Very interesting from 93T. So this is going to be 10 skill points to 8. So 93T actually should have a disadvantage for this mid fight. We'll see who gets initial pull, as the arc has just spawned. We could see that the sad faces are starting to come out. A lot of sad faces coming up from 93T. Wait a minute, Dirty Dan. We were just talking about... Okay, wait. Perhaps it's because I'm not looking down here where the sad faces are coming from GV77. So it's a little bit of an even trade here. 93T do get first pull. The arc carrier was put down. I mean, you could see the sad faces coming out from both teams.
Yeah, it's very even right now.
Which is, you know, very, very interesting. GV77 getting a pull. Arc carrier is down, but it does look rather blue now.
Yep.
So even down in terms of points, You know, they used four 8 points. GV77 used 4 8 points. I mean, there's 10 points, I guess, with the dust up if you count that. Yeah, it is 10 points. So it's Heaven's Grace dust up in response to the death, which actually made the difference, and they were actually able to win against to the death. The thing about to the death 30 Den that I see is a lot of teams see it as that's the insta win mid button. But if you have all of your marches middle, the 30 marches that have to the death aren't as effective as, you know, all the other marches having dust up and Heaven's Grace. Perhaps that being the difference. Perhaps it was just micro with the target selection. Either way, the result is the same, which is 93T running away with the Yark as they have run away with the game.
Yeah, and I think 93T puts a really nice stamp on this victory here. Kind of similar to what last week, like look at how 2377, GV77 I should say, is looking for their kind of signature win. This is a massive win for 93T against a team that has won an Osiris League championship, against a team that is looking to is kind of climbing the ranks as one of the top tier kingdoms in the international servers, and 93T making this look really, really easy. And I think to your point, Plato, that it kind of gives the international server teams a little bit of hope. I think this is exactly what we want to see from the fans of the international servers, as 93T is probably going to look to kind of lead the way potentially and represent the international servers as we get a little bit deeper into this tournament.
93T, the old guards of Rise of Kingdoms, probably the oldest, if not the one of, if not the oldest kingdoms that have been together for so long. You know, they are here and they are playing super, super well, showing that, hey, they still have it, even though they downsized. It doesn't matter for our Ark of Osiris team. It doesn't matter so far for our KVKs. They are dominant in this win against GV77. GV77 definitely had a good attempt, but that building game early was crucial for 93T, able to take that first occupation point away from GV77 at their desert altar, and they've been down in terms of tempo ever since. What do you expect to see from GV77 now? It's about 10 minutes left. A comeback would be, I don't know how a comeback would happen.
I think a comeback is out of reach now at this point. You know, I think if you're GV77, I think you just kind of, you know, let's get out of this thing. I think it's a good learning. It's a good lesson for the next Osiris Leagues that are going to be, you know, that'll be coming up in a few months, whenever they are. And, you know, I think with kind of being in a different realm than 1093 too, it kind of gives you a sigh of relief knowing that you kind of don't have to go up and fight someone of this caliber. And it kind of just, it sets you up and you kind of learn from it. You know, I always like to take some kind of like learning experience away from any defeat or kind of failure in life. And I think that GV77 with this defeat at the hands of 93T, I think we'll see them come back a very strong Osiris League team and kind of refining on some of those strategies. Again, this is GV77, 23/7. They're not going anywhere. They're coming off the heels of a couple really, really good KVK wins, some deep runs in Osiris League. So they're not going anywhere. I'm expecting to see a nice return from GV77 in the future.
I will say the realm of Anubis is looking rather open. 1960, supposedly, you know, if we look at the trend of things, next season should go to Horus. So that'd be 93T, 960 in the same realm. We could see the big team would be 2489 that would still be in Anubis. So perhaps that would be the rivalry. It would be 2377 versus 2489 in Osiris League.
Yeah, we'll actually be seeing the 2489 match coming up next against 27 WP. And just to kind of pivot a little bit, I think, Plato, that match is going to look to be pretty interesting because I think it's going to be pretty much 2489 players versus 2489 players, that 27 WP being comprised of some Korean players from 489, and I think the 2489 team that won the Grand Prix last year, potentially.
Yeah.
So next match is going to be really, really interesting.
Yeah, as we were talking about, there are 8 minutes left in this match. It is looking like a very dominant win from 93T. Just waiting down the last couple of seconds so that that fifth arc, or that fourth arc rather, can't even spawn. Just securing their victory. There you go. The arc has been captured, and now you can see the true lead by about 15k. 15k point differential in Grand Prix play. Absolutely dominant. And it's not even GV77's fault per se. It's just 93T's rotations have been so clean, especially the lead that they're able to gain that first arc and able to leverage that lead to win the next 2 arcs has been the name of the game.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't mean to throw salt in the moon here, but I think, Plato, I think we're going to see our biggest margin of victory in this Grand Prix. Because although that is a true score with arc being cashed, there is still provisioners in the field. So unless 93T decides to not cash them in, this score might inflate a little bit more here.
Yeah, I mean, they did have some provisions come in. They still also have 5 provisions out in the open field. We were talking about killing provisioners. We see GV77 marches coming out to kill these provisioners.
There you go. And I think the key when you do that is, right, you have to wait for them to kind of get out of that node, and then you have to kind of start the attack.
It's actually the opposite, where if they're in the node, they lose the points. If they're walking back,
yes,
they will gain the points. So it's 93T's gatherers that have to be vigilant to make sure that they hop out of the node, make sure that they get the points. And GV77 just have to hope that they're sleeping on the wheel here. But, you know, as you can see, it is... I mean, GV77 able to take the small wins, able to take the Shrine of War. Looks like that will be swarmed back down. Instead of the initial first play, honestly, Dirty Dan, the first arc, GV77 had been able to stabilize their structures.
Yeah.
But because they spent so many resources stabilizing the structures, they lost the second and third arc, which eventually lost them the game because they were down from that initial first arc play. Overall, GV77's strategy was pretty standard, but it was completely countered by the dominance in the building game that 93T was able to get from that first arc focus that GV77 puts. You know, having those 4 altars for about 3, 4, 5 minutes ended up being the big downfall of GV77.
Yeah, and to your point too, I mean, like, we've seen GV77 do a good job, like, on this 93T Desert Altar. We've seen that flip a couple times. We've seen the bottom side Sky Altar flip for GV77. So, like, they've done some things right, obviously, but again, it's just the pressure was just so much. And you kind of go back and talk about those opening moves, right? Like, I feel like a lot of times arc matches are won or lost within like the first 15 to 20 minutes. Like, on the first rotation, you really kind of have an idea. On those first mid arc rotations, you really have a good idea of who's in control and kind of where the match is leaning to. In this Grand Prix, we've seen a little bit on closer margins, I'd like to say, but yeah, as you pointed out, that 4 altar hold for 93T really kind of set the tempo in such an accelerated way that I don't think GV77 was able to kind of rebound from that. And then also too, when you talk about that bottom side Desert Altar for GV77, just under so much pressure the entire match, and it's like, well, we can't, we're losing this home structure of ours, and it's just it was just too much. I think that was one of the keys right here for 93T of really putting pressure on a home structure, and really kind of instilling their will on that.
Oh wait, sneaky tactics. Where is the sneaky going to be tactics? It is going to be in this top side. Looks like they are going to be aggressing to the Sky Altar with sneaky tactics. Desert Altar should be defended, but going back to the Desert Altar, it's not only losing the Desert Altar, it's losing first occupation, right? That was absolutely huge. from 93T. GV77, they had marches walking through and they decided to go middle for that arc instead of take back the structures. And I honestly don't blame GV77 for that all-in mid plan, because we've seen 93T do the exact same thing. We've seen 93T, you know, go all in for that first arc, used to the death for the first arc, and that's been kind of the to the death first arc meta has been something that's been developing, because you know, if you don't have control of that first arc, and if you don't have control of that first arc, then you are going to be in trouble, because your opponents can just hold their structures and try to go provisions. That's how the Chinese server have been doing things, but 93T seeing through that and just taking the lead, taking, you know, all of the structures from GV77, while the GV77 marches were twiddling their thumbs middle, ended up being the difference in this game. We have 2 minutes 40 seconds. The building's now starting to flip from 93T, and 93T looking very, very strong, as they should move on to the next stage of this next stage of the Grand Prix here. Do you think 93T are still a tournament favorite from all of the matches you've seen so far? Like, what do you think of 93T and their chances to represent the international server?
This is probably in this Grand Prix, and I mean, we've all casted now anywhere from, like, you know, we're probably close to 10 matches total now. This is probably the cleanest match that I have seen, and I've been watching GY16, which is the big kind of juggernaut from the Chinese server. I've had the pleasure of watching GY16 every week, and 93T, this is definitely the best match that I have seen so far in this Grand Prix. Best
match so far, cleanest match so far. And this
hands,
is what
down,
the international server needs. They need the hope, because it was a rough last week with all of the international servers moving to the lower bracket. Again, 93T will face next round the winner of 27WP489, which is the match that is about to be happening in about 6 minutes here on this stream. So be sure to subscribe to this channel, stay on the stream. We will be having the second round of this bracket here. But this is the international side of the lower bracket, where all of the best international teams are facing against each other. Some friendly fire going on here, but it should be some good fun. The other two teams from the international server, 748W versus Beer, just, I believe, have their match as well in this time frame. I'd be curious to see who would win that match, as they are in the other side of the lower bracket, facing against the Chinese server teams down there.
748W winning against Beer, probably on a similar margin here, 40,000 to 25,000.
Wow. Okay, 748W should be able to face that lower bracket Chinese team.
466W.
466W won that match. Okay, 466W versus... Okay, that should be a good one there, as those matches will be happening next week. So be sure to subscribe to the channel as this match wraps up. GG's to 93T. And an amazing attempt, an amazing run for GV77, making it through the qualifiers, you know, winning against 1188, but losing to 93T twice this tournament, in the first round and as well as this round of the lower bracket. 44.7k to 29.5k, winning in terms of the arc score, occupation, and 6k in provisions. Dirty Dan, do you have any final notes of this game before we get into the break?
Huge shout out to 93T. What a dominant performance, and also a massive shout out to GV77. What a run in Grand Prix and representing the international servers. You know, lesson learned, and you know, gear up for the next Osiris League.
Yep. GV77 can hold their heads up high. This is a very, very tough competition. Shout out to them for making it. And we will go into break so that we can see 27WP versus 489. See you then.
blazing so bright, calling the fight from vigilance. We stand from dawn to twilight. The empires rise and conquer. In the wild face of danger, carry on to the victory. You better take a deep breath. Each dawn it brings a bitter fight. Another chill may run down your spine. Fear lurks beyond the edge of sight. Carry on to the glory, to the great victory. Never give up till you die. Never give up in this life. For every word that you win bright, it's time to become. Never give up on your mind. Hold your weapons, try to fight. For every kingdom that falls and rise, it's time to become legendary.
As we get into the game here, 93T taking the first game of this stream will face the winner of this game here, with 27WP being in the top left corner versus 489 in the top right. I mean bottom right rather. And as Dirty Dan was alluding to, there's some friendly fire going on here.
This is interesting for sure. And so I heard this a little bit, and I'm not really good on keeping up with some of the intricacies of these teams in terms of players, right? But 489 facing off against 27WP. 27WP consisting of the Korean contingent of 489 that won the Grand Prix last year.
Yeah, I was told that the Grand Prix team last year had majority Korean players. We saw the documentary from 489 where they met up in person to practice, and that's how they were able to win that Grand Prix. Now the 489 team deciding to go international. The Korean players are making their own team in 27WP, joining 27WP. This is not all from 489, but a rather contingent of Korean players. So it should be an interesting match. The 489, the international 489 versus some of the Korean 489 that won the Grand Prix last season. Which is why 27WP, we haven't really heard of them. They're not really a household name, but they've been wildly successful in this Grand Prix, in this tournament. What do you think we'll see in this tournament here, in this game, Dirty Dan?
Oh, man, this is gonna be this is gonna be intense. I'm honestly, the one thing I'm curious to see is just if there's gonna be a lot of mirroring, because these teams are obviously gonna be very familiar with each other, very familiar with each other's strategies, kind of all kind of creeping up from one another's kingdom. So I'm very curious to see if there's going to be a lot of mirroring here. And 489, I believe, last week kind of opting again, changing the strategy a little bit, going a little bit more occupation focused, knocking 60GT out. It's going to be really interesting to see. I just got to throw this out there. I got all my coins on 27WP. I lost them last week to HJK, so hopefully 27WP can redeem it for me this week. So I am rooting for them.
All right, there you go, Dirty Dan with the bias. As we get into the game here, we got the standard 4 obelisk rallies for each of these teams, 8 rallies altogether, and we could see that no sentries placed as of yet. There we go, 489 placing down a sentry. Where will they place a sentry? The standard international server between the obelisk and desert altar. Looks like 27WP putting a sentry in the middle here, expecting a middle play from 489, and to their credit, there's a lot of marches marching middle from 489.
Yep, there you go. And that's kind of again kind of keying in on the fact that
it looks like they are going to this desert altar. So they walked to desert altar. Bit interesting in terms of pathing, don't you? But yeah, they are going to desert altar here.
One thing I just want to call out real quick too, Plot, I did not realize 27WP beat 489 in the first round. So
yep, this is a rematch.
Yeah, so we're getting another rematch here, and that margin was only 800 points. 27WP won that by. So this is going to be a really interesting match here.
Wow. So we had two rematches. The first rematch going in the previous winner's favor, which was 93T versus GV77. This rematch, we'll see if they will follow the same script or if they will flip the paradigm here. And 489, we will see if they'll be able to beat another one of their rivals here. We'll call them rivals because they have already fought each other in this Grand Prix. The first rival being 60GT, which surprisingly was the first round of the lower bracket. The two Grand Prix finalists, finalists of last season. 489 being the reigning champions, they have a lot of expectations, and they're facing up against some of the players that were in that reigning championship team. So this is going to be
championship prowess all around this match. So we kind of keyed in last match with 93T having that experience. Both teams here being highly experienced, being high tier playing teams. So yeah, this is definitely going to be one crazy match.
Yep. As we get into the initial plays here, you could see that again, this is a winner go home scenario. So unlike the first round of these two teams facing each other, where it was win, make it to the upper bracket, lose, make it to the lower bracket, there is no lower bracket. It is win or go home. The winner is blessed with a 1v1 against 93C. The loser has to go back home and their Grand Prix run is over. As we start to see these murder balls start to develop, a lot more standard positioning from these two teams compared to the last match where GV77 kind of flipped the map, split the map in half. This time, these two teams looking to be pretty standard.
Yeah, 489 with a nice response on that outside lane here as we're watching, getting ready for defense on their home Sky Altar. Actually, yeah, it kind of looks kind of balanced all throughout the map as we're getting some of this first fighting going on.
You see this initial fight on this Desert Altar here. Some sad face marches already coming from 489. Interesting. Not too sure if that was part of the plan, but you could see that now 489 crashing into 27WP. Again, very standard play from these two teams so far. This initial Desert Altar fight we saw last match, we saw 93T able to take first occupation away from the red team. We'll have to see if that will be reproduced in this match. So far, the murder ball looks to be pretty even here. A lot of sad faces now coming from 27WP. A couple sad faces coming out from 489, but 489, I feel like they have the advantage around this Desert Altar. Desert Altar is about to open in 3 seconds. 2, 1. Who will get first tap will be super important. It is 489 getting first tap in their home Desert Altar. Also on the Sky Altar of 27WP. Also in the Desert Altar. This is 4 altars going to 489. An absolutely huge opening from them. This Desert Altar should fall back into 27WP's hand, but this Sky Altar is actually looking pretty dicey. There are a lot of 489 in this Sky Altar.
Yeah, really good opening there for 489, and this is exactly what you don't want if you're 27WP, kind of getting put on your back foot rather quickly here, and they're going to need to kind of answer back on this to kind of stay within this thing as we get ready for a first arc coming up soon.
Yeah, this is going to be an absolutely huge play from 489 if they're able to, keep the Sky Altar for quite some time, delay the marches here. They still have a pretty healthy murder ball. that is not allowing 27WP to murder ball up. They're not allowing an aggressive stance from 27WP. You know, fighting the marches as they come trickle in one by one, which is exactly what you want if you're 489. This is an absolutely huge start from them. We still have 6 minutes until Arc spawns. They are also attacking in the Shrine of Life, so taking the approach of attacking these outer lane structures, it looks like that's the approach from 489, at least in the beginning here.
Yeah, and a little bit, at least on this play on the Shrine of Life here, kind of ripping off a page from GY16 and some of the other Chinese server teams as I've seen, putting a nice little emphasis on the Shrine of Life and maybe trying to cap that and take away some of those buffs before that first mid arc fight. And the buffs really kind of coming into a little bit more play here, which kind of sets Grand Prix apart from Osiris League a little bit, because again, all of these marches are going to have pretty much the same amount of stats, as everyone has the same gear, same armament. So those buffs kind of do play a little bit more into the advantage, especially for mid arc fights.
Yeah, as you're talking about, making sure that you get the buffs. It does look like, by the way, this outpost has not gotten first occupation yet, which is pretty interesting. I mean, it's 80 first occupation points, which, to be honest, if we were talking about the margins of the game last time these two teams first versed each other, 800 points. Every point matters here. So this horrific opening from 27WP, it looks like it's stabilizing. They were actually able to flip the Desert Altar. First occupation point still up for grabs there. The Sky Altar going back and forth though, so this is a trade that they're taking. The bottom side obelisks have not gotten first occupation for either side here. Heavily building focus so far.
Yeah, and I think if you're 27WP, you can live with this, right? I think when you talk about first occupation point scores, especially right before your first mid arc fight, and probably one of the more important mid arc fights, I think you can kind of live with this a little bit, as long as they're kind of flipping back and forth, and there's not this control and totality from 489. I think you can recover from this, and you can still kind of have the thought of going into a mid arc rotation rather healthy, as we're just under 4 minutes now away from arc spawning.
I will say the Desert Altar of 27WP, and I'm just gonna keep bringing this up. First occupation scores. Desert Altar and Sky Altar have not been claimed yet, and that's one arc worth of points. That's 3k point differential between the teams. So that could be absolutely huge. Desert Altar looks like it will be forsaken. It will be given up by 27WP. 27WP starting the early mid rotation.
Yeah, this is going to be a very important mid fight for 27WP here, and they might be able to sneak out with a couple altars here. I think they're gonna choose to defer that home desert altar that they have, and maybe let 489 take that as they kind of divert resources to a little bit more to the outside lanes, and then obviously pouring in a big chunk of resources into the middle. But yeah, that Sky Altar flipping back yet again. Oh my lordy.
Yeah, this Sky Altar, I don't know if first occupation points will be claimed this game with how much it's been flipping. Yeah. Again, that's 750 points for the team that captured it. So 750 points for the team that captured it, and that's taking away 750 points from your opponents. Same thing for this Desert Altar, and we've seen GV77 give up their first occupation on the Desert Altar, and it did not end up well for them. 489 though, it does look like they're gonna be sad piece of this Desert Altar. There are reinforcements. This Honda in 2024 have not seen it that often, but it was not fast enough to get into this Desert Altar.
So 27WP opting to go back and reclaim that home desert altar of theirs. I do like the play. I'm a big believer of stabilizing your home structures first and foremost, especially as you're gearing up for those first mid arc fights. And I think that outside Sky Altar on the top side has finally gotten some first occupation points potentially.
Yeah, I mean the first occupation points was given to 489 to begin with, so they were able to claim their first occupation points. Then 27WP was able to flip it.
Flip it back.
But
Okay.
I will say this is gonna be very, very tedious from 27WP. The Desert Altar and for Sky Altar. I'm gonna keep saying this. It's still not been captured, this game. It's still not been captured. And you could see the difference in points per minute. No, you can't see the difference. It's really close. But you could see the difference in occupation score. 2K to 3.3K. And the difference in occupation points per minute will start ticking once these Desert Altar and Sky Altar start generating points. And it actually looks like 489 going structures here while also doing the sneaky tactics flip where they split up the murder ball so that they cannot Desert Storm all the murder ball. They have to Desert Storm one or the other. Looks like they don't even have Desert Storm at all. They didn't choose to use Desert Storm. So it looks like this will be a mid contest from 489 with sneaky tactics. And they should be able to delay this arc as they continue to press onto these structures that I will say again have not gotten first occupation points. This is 3K differential out on the map for 489 to get, and they see this and they're calling for blood.
Yeah, if you're 489, you really want to kind of try and take advantage of some of these points that are still on the board. And I think they might have enough of a presence here, and that mid-arc rotation coming down onto the home side Desert Altar of 489, kind of putting a little bit of pressure here as we have the sneaky tactics scramble in the middle from both sides. Everyone cloaked up, not really knowing where the enemy troops are. Looks to be a chaotic mid-fight here.
This is gonna be a chaotic mid-fight indeed, as I mean, a lot of the marches have been sad-faced, but there are still a ton of marches in Fog of War that is continuing to harass the arc carrier. The arc carrier here, is it a Guan Yu arc carrier? It's a Guan Yu arc carrier. Honestly, they might just want to keep this Guan Yu alive with how slow it will be. And Guan Yu was sad-faced though. So the Guan Yu arc carrier has been sad-faced, but this is going to be a continued delay as they continue to pummel the Desert Altar. If this Desert Altar falls, my goodness, it's going to be 1/4 of the match, and first occupation points have not been taken from these altars. It's been 15-17 minutes, and they still have yet to get the 750 points from their own altars. Sky Altar, though, looks to be in 489's control. And this is an absolute domination so far from 489.
Yeah, 27WP is going to have to really make some moves here as we get a Heaven's Grace. There's a little interesting play there. But yeah, 27WP is going to have to make some moves here and kind of stabilize their home structures at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, this is absolutely huge plays from them. And I will say, the team so far in these two matches that goes mid has been behind. This is very reminiscent of the last game that we just watched, where 93T just went buildings. They were able to get first occupation points away from GV77. This is deja vu, but it's even more controlled from 489, as both altars are still up for first occupation. This is going to be so interesting to see if 489 is going to be able to take these first occupation points. I will say it's not 4 altars completely in control, as 27WP decided to take the opponent's Desert Altar and Sky Altar. So perhaps foregoing that first occupation so that they could at least flip a structure. I mean, this Sky Altar has 20 seconds left until 489 is able to steal away 750 points of first occupation points from 27WP. 9 seconds, 8, 7. It looks to be in 489's control, so an absolutely huge win from them here. Able to take the first occupation points away from the Sky Altar. This Sky Altar is finally starting to generate some points for somebody here. As you can see, the marches that went to the Desert Altar now swooping around to take back the Sky Altar. And the Desert Altar has been retaken, so the first occupation points there is still on the board. But look at 27WP's positioning here. They are going to capture this arc right away. They're going to go for a quick capture similar to GV77.
Yeah, I think you have to, especially with the a little bit amount of pressure. Just to kind of, again, you want to be able to keep that option available to you, with the arc scores staying on the board. And look, if they want to veer and change the direction, after they cash this in, they can choose to do that, right? They can say, hey, let's try and slow things down a little bit. Let's go and play a little bit more onto a building game. I do want to note that there isn't many provisioners out so far, if any, for both teams. So a really interesting approach here, especially from 489, kind of taking a little bit more of a structure focused strategy, but not throwing the provisioners out there. So committing a little bit more resources to really trying to get that total domination on the structure game.
I will say, arc was captured 8 minutes until the next arc. This is going to be very reminiscent of the last game, but instead of full control from 489 in these altars, it's been pretty even. You could see the occupation score being the big difference, 7.5k compared to the split 3k arc, 3k occupation. I mean, step number one is take back the sky altar, which has been blinking back and forth to the point where now 489 was able to get first occupation, now generating points, but it looks like it will finally go to 27WP's favor here. In response, 489 able to take back their desert altar, so this top side of the map should be pretty stable. Desert altar first occupation points still in the balance here for 27WP, but 27WP setting a lot of marches here. 489 also setting a lot of marches, now instantly swarming this desert altar. It looks like the rally though, Justinian Attila has some anti-swarm, but it's not invincible, getting swarmed down like crazy. If this rally falls, this aggression will be in vain. Rally getting super low. They're trying to fill it with a double C as much as possible, but Rally has indeed fallen. So first occupation points finally secured from 27WP, which will be on... Oh, wait.
Oh no. Oh no.
If that is not a caster curse, I do not know what is. How is that possible? Look how many blue marches are out here. Do you want to count them, Dirty Dan? 1, 2, 3, 4. There's too many to count.
Oh,
and yet,
man.
somehow, some way, 489 has been able to take these structures over and over again. We're approaching the halfway point, and first occupation still has not been claimed. And this is not even 489. This is the fault of 27WP. Just there's structures feeling like paper right now, Dirty Dan.
Yeah, that's just a fault on the reinforcements there, and maybe just getting a little bit greedy with the field. 27WP kind of slipping up there. And we talk about first occupation points on the board too, but I mean, and the same token, that desert altar hasn't been generating any points, and even that this bottom side sky altar is now finally going to start generating some points for 27WP. So when you're talking about point generation and how small, how close these margins of these matches have been, like, you need all the points you can get, and for us to be halfway through the match and their altars haven't been generating any points for them is rather insane. And they have to really kind of key in here, focus in, as we're closing in 5 minutes until the next arc spawns in, and the next arc is going to be very precious for 27WP.
27WP have to lock in these structures, have to lock in this arc as well, as they decided to capture that first arc directly. We saw GV77 do the exact same thing, and they lost the second arc and the third arc. That cannot be the case for 27WP, especially with how weak their structure game has been in terms of defending their structures. They have to win the second arc.
Yeah, and I have to just say too, I believe the 27WP should have a slight advantage going into this next minute R fight, because 489 opting to pop a Heaven's Grace and then also now a Dust Up. So points should be in favor for 27WP going into the next mid fight.
And as we're talking about this next mid fight, 489 saying, "Hey, we have the lead right now. We're up by about." Well, I'm gonna round up to 3k. Maybe like 2.5 would be a better round, but they're up by quite a considerable amount. There's still first occupation points in this desert altar, Dirty Dan. There's still first occupation points available here. And we could see that this is going to fall
again. Oh my!
It is going to fall yet again. Over under if this Desert Altar will generate any points to this game. Honestly, it's getting less and less likely with 35 minutes left in this game. First occupation point still up for grabs. And as you were talking about, this is in favor of 489 because even if this Desert Altar gets taken back, and it looks like it will, it's an extra minute every single time this Desert Altar flips. Every single time that this Desert Altar flips, it's an extra minute taken away of generating points, which is 150 points per minute. Usually when the Desert Altar flips, it's 300 points per minute taken away from your opponents. But this time it's 450. It's an extra 50% of points taken away every single time this Desert Altar flips, which is absolutely huge. And we could see that they also flipped the Sky Altar, and you can see now 590 points per minute to 190 points per minute being the difference. Sky Altar, Desert Altar, Shrine of War, Shrine of Life, all generating points from 489. The Shrine of War was actually just taken from 27WP. Man, the building focus from 489 has been the issue from 27WP. And I will say, it's not like they've been going full focus. They do have some marches middle.
Yeah.
It's just been sometimes these structures just not getting reinforced the way that you would expect, allowing for 489 to continuously take this Desert Altar over and over and over and over again, allowing to take the Sky Altar when, you know, for most teams that those structures should be secure.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're your home structures for a reason, and I think, again, as an arc planner, you want to start with those, right? That's where you always kind of start your strategy, and then you kind of work off of that. But 489 has just been doing an amazing job of kind of being everywhere at once, as you called out, still sending troops into mid, still kind of being all over the place on the map. And I do just want to call out, I haven't done so yet in this match, but Provisioners now starting to finally show up.
Ooh, there you go.
A lot on the side for 27WP.
That is interesting, as they are going middle.
Yeah,
with
so maybe
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 Provisioners out in the open field. So they're saying, hey, we could win middle while also having 13 marches down of pressure.
Here's the counter to a structure focused match when you're not going to be sending that many troops into mid. If you know that from your opponent, then you can say, hey, let's use the extra resources to provision. Let's maybe get up to a 5,000 point provision score, and we can still cash arcs because we know that the opponent's not committing as many troops to the middle. So 27WP maybe opening up a little bit something here in the playbook that we haven't seen before.
The counter to not going middle is to farm. The counter to this building game is to farm. And to your point, it's 13 marches that is taken away, but to defend these structures, typically you would need less marches than the attackers here. But I don't know, Dirty Dan. Even with the same amount of marches, this Desert Altar has not been generating points. There is 17 seconds until this Desert Altar could finally start generating something, could finally be relevant, could get off the couch, start generating some points for 27WP. Will they be able to hold it? 5 seconds, 4 seconds, rally has been swarmed down. Everyone can rejoice. The Desert Altar has finally been captured. 27WP, you have done it. But will they be able to get this arc? This arc has spawned. There is a contingent of marches that 27WP did not see from the bottom side. Will they be able to get the pull? They are able to get the pull in this top side of the map, but they are getting surrounded by 489 marches. They do still have the numbers advantage, but will they be able to secure this arc? This is going to be a close one, Dirty Dan.
Using to the death in this mid fight here too is really interesting call.
Wow.
From 27WP. And this is with the numbers kind of being somewhat even, this is probably what you want from 27WP. You want that to the death to try and clear this out, and kind of solidify this. Interesting plays here.
I will say that to the death call, it is interesting, but I don't know if it was necessary. They had enough marches, in my opinion. And the thing is, they're gonna insta-cap this. They're gonna insta-cap this arc. They're down by about 3.5k. They're down by this arc's worth, and they're gonna continue to be down because somehow, some way, the Sky Altar has flipped yet again. So they have been flipping these structures back and forth. They are sprinting towards this outpost. Oh no. Oh, they're walking away. They're walking away. Okay, so this might indicate that they are... Do you think they're gonna hold this arc? With their occupation, with their gathering, do you think they're confident enough to hold this arc?
I'm thinking here, right? Maybe the play, if they do decide to hold, they milk this down to a last arc match. They know that To the Death is now off the board. 489 potentially has To the Death in the pocket. They can say, they could try and force the commit from 489 on the third arc because they have To the Death in hand, right? I think they might pull a 732A and not show up for the third arc and maybe go full buildings for that.
Ooh, that's gonna be interesting.
We might see. I think that play is in hand right now.
That would be interesting, but that's so risky, especially because 7328 was able to hold their buildings. This Sky Altar has been red for a majority of the game. This Desert Altar just started generating points halfway through the match. The 7328 strategy is good if you're able to hold your structures. And that has been the main question that 27WP has not been able to answer. These structures have been falling when they should be held. They have not been march swapping to the same ability as we've seen them do previously. So the real question is, will they be able to focus up, hold their structures, or will these structures continue falling to a 489? And if they continue falling, I don't think they have the luxury of not going for a third arc fight.
I think even in an added wrinkle, and yes, it is definitely risky, right? But with To the Death off the board, I'm thinking maybe they also try to get a delay on the third arc cap to negate that, and maybe do a master strategist. There's a lot at play here, but I think 27WP, and I just have this gut feeling they are up to something here. They really are, and I know that their home structures have kind of been a little bit of an issue, but if they can get this arc into safe hands, and then they can now start to kind of stabilize and now take a little bit more of that building focus approach with all the provisions already out in the field. I don't know, my gut feeling is telling me that 27WP's got something up their sleeve.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I was really surprised that they chose To the Death when they had the numbers advantage already for that second arc. Perhaps you're right, it's all about securing for them, but in my opinion it looked pretty secure. So I mean, we'll have to see if that'll pay off, or if that will haunt them for this third arc fight, which they will potentially not take. We see the rally start coming into this Desert Altar, and this is where it starts. This is where it begins. You have to hold your home structures, specifically your altars, as they don't even have their shrines right now. You can see this Desert Altar starting to get swarmed down, starting to get rallied down. And I will say there is a lot more Heraclius YSS than Eleanor that we've seen. Eleanor has been the mainstay garrison for most of these teams. This Heraclius looks pretty squishy as the Desert Altar has fallen. Wait. Ooh. Reinforcements now coming in from 27WP. Desert Altar has not fallen yet. Rally's still alive though. As long as the Rally's still alive, there is threat on the DA.
Good reinforcements.
But this Desert Altar is getting super reinforced. And this is exactly what we needed to see. This is exactly what 27WP have to do to keep this game close. But Dirty Dan, as we were talking, 27WP captured the arc. So
okay,
that is interesting because that indicates a 4-arc game that they decided to pull off here. What do you think?
All right, yeah. Now it's interesting because you have to think that 489 has a To the Death in the pocket potentially, and you have to think that with it To the Death, you're it's not a guarantee, as we even saw last match with GV77 93T. To the Death does not.
This is like getting so low. Oh my gosh.
it does not ensure you the win in the mid arc fight. So I'm very curious to see what 27WP is doing here. Again, I still do believe that they have something up their sleeve for us.
It's like they're listening to the stream. They're starting to reinforce. They put the Eleanor in there, so they're doing what they need to do. But this is probably the longest rally I've seen alive in Grand Prix so far.
Yeah,
this is like a KVK rally. This is insane. That the fact that this rally is still alive, the fact that this is still going, and the fact that 489 marches are able to refresh and come back up here. This aggression has been going on for so long.
I think if you're 27WP, you do want to get that rally down because there is a skill on Attila that is going to debuff the defense of a structure. You do want to get that rally down if you're 27WP.
Look how low the health bar is from 27WP. Look at the white numbers from the Swarmers. But the reinforcements now coming in, and that's the beauty of Arco Osiris. It doesn't matter how close you are to losing your structure. Even if there's one troop left, you still generate the points. So this is absolutely good stuff from 27WP. And perhaps it didn't swarm down that rally because they're like, hey, the slower that rally comes back, the better it is. The more marches are going to be wasted just waiting for that rally to sad face. And now you can see, oh, wait, there is an XY in there.
No.
There is an XY in there.
Oh my god.
There you go.
Okay.
We usually we wouldn't mind. It's like, oh, you know, they're just resetting. But we've seen this Desert Altar flip from like 2 marches being surrounded by a sea of blue, and those 2 marches were still able to flip the Desert Altar. We will go ahead and look at the other side of this map though, and you can see all the structures now finally generating points. I feel like this is the first time we've seen it, except for the outpost that was just taken. But all the other structures now finally generating points for their home team. So this indicates to me that these provisioners, they're going to be playing a huge part, but another huge part of this is going to be this mid fight, and both teams are probably going to be rotating soon, although there is some aggression coming out from 489 to the famous Desert Altar. They want to make sure this Desert Altar continues to not generate points for 27WP, as 27WP is starting to rotate middle. What do you think 489 will do here, Dugan? Will they go buildings or will they contest this arc?
I think if you're 489, you have to stay home here and continue doing what you've been doing. I think maybe on what is probably going to be a 4th arc, I think that's probably when you kind of make a different call. But yeah, 489 doing a nice job here on the buildings as we get ready for this 3rd arc.
The attack on the Sky Altar looks like it will be thwarted for now. So that's going to be a huge win for 27WP. 27WP also flipping the Desert Altar.
Wow.
Wait a minute here. 27WP actually getting an advantage in the buildings here. After the dominance of buildings from 489, you could see 17k to 8.8k. But this Desert Altar flip is going to be absolutely huge. This Desert Altar hold looks like it's going to be huge. And honestly, right now, looks like 27WP have some form of a tempo advantage right now.
Yeah. It's really interesting. They're kind of mixing in all the strategies that we've seen, or even that we kind of know of. They're playing aggressive. They're caching arcs. Now they're kind of changing tempo, going a little bit building focus. They have the provisioners out. 27WP is they're down in points, but as like an avid arc player and like and obviously caster diving into the strategies and everything, like I really like what I'm seeing from 27WP. They're giving you a lot of different looks right now, and I think that as this match narrows in, you talk about composure from the players on the other side of those screens. It's really, I think, going to kind of keep 489 questioning of what 27WP is going to do next.
27WP have been ramping up throughout this match. The opening was absolutely horrible for them. The ability to hold structure was absolutely horrible for them. But now it looks like a different team. They're able to take these structures. They have the tempo advantage right now. Although there is 2 minutes left, so 489 will still be able to rotate to this middle fight, and it looks like that's going to be their play. They're going to go full mid. Now it looks like the marches that were defending the Desert Altar have to take the walk of shame here. starting to walk home, and these marches are going to be sorely missed as this arc is going to be spawning in about a minute 50. These marches are actually going to be late, I think, Dirty Dan.
Yeah, definitely going to be a little bit late there, but I think it's what you want to do.
1 minute
right?
36.
From what 27WP is trying to accomplish here, keeping that home desert altar in control. So I think it was something that they needed to do. And now let's see if you know, they can kind of regather themselves and take this arc. I do think if they do snag this arc, I think that they're back in the driver's seat.
They are back in the driver's seat indeed. As we were talking about, the provisioners, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 provisioners out. So that means a couple of provisioners were able to come back home. They have 866 points in provisions. So they have that going for them. But I will say that this middle rotation from 4 and 9, they should be a lot more comfortable as they have more marches here than 27WP do. I will say though, they don't have vision completely of 27WP, although now they do as 27WP start walking up. We saw sneaky tactics used. We saw dust up used in response from 489. I'm gonna be curious as to how many of these marches are sneaky tactics, because sneaky tactics only hits 30 marches. As we see this Liam individual throw their marches into the murder ball, and that is what instigates the murder ball fight to the death used by 489. And this is what we were talking about. 489 having that to the death skill. We have Heaven's Grace in response from 27WP, but their reinforcements from that top side that we're talking about are still trickling in. This should be in 489's favor. They have the numbers advantage. They have to the death. This is their arc to win, and the sad faces are now streaming out from 27WP. Looks like, will there be a clean pull? The pull is going to matter so much here. 27WP able to get huge. That first pull. That is absolutely huge for them.
That is huge.
But it does look like this murder ball fight is an absolute slaughter.
Wow, yeah.
If that murder ball fight was a little bit closer, that arc here could have gotten a free pull, could have gotten a free run, and the reinforcements from 27WP might have been able to do something. But this is absolute domination from 489 here. 27WP trying to take back the Sky Altar, trying to take the Desert Altar. But overall, and a huge win from 489.
Yeah, I wonder if 27WP can kind of turn this loss into an advantage here, getting the quick refreshes, and they do have 3 altars in hand. One is going to start generating points for them.
And so, the provisions, Dirty Dan. Perhaps that's what they're banking on. Look, the game is getting closer and closer. It's getting to that point where it's going to be an even game. This arc is going to be worth 4K though. So the real question is, will 489 be able to take care of things here, take care of their altars, and make up and hold that 4K lead that they'll have? Or will the provisioners actually make up that 4K differential? That's going to be the main question here, Dirty Dan.
Yeah, I think they have enough to kind of counteract the point value of this last arc, I believe. I think that they got their provisioners out early enough. I think there's enough of them. And now it's oh man, this is I feel like I just watched 2 arc matches in the span of 40 minutes, because 27WP, as you talked about, came out so slow. And just over the course of the last 10 minutes, really kind of ramping up. And I think we kind of knew where the direction that this next big hard fight was going to go without having to the death. But again, seeing there's a lot of presence on the field right now for 27WP, so I think they were using some of those eliminations in the middle to kind of quick refresh and get back onto the structure focus.
Ooh, this Desert Altar hold is going to be absolutely huge. If they're able to hold this Desert Altar 27WP, then you could scrap all of my comments about their buildings being paper. You could scrap all my comments earlier, because this is going to be an absolutely huge hold for them. But there are a lot of 489 marches here, and the sad faces are starting to come out from 27WP. The real question is, do they have the reinforcements for this? I don't know if the answer will be yes. It looks like the answer is no. And an absolutely huge take from 489. An absolutely huge take. and perhaps an absolutely huge hold on this bottom side.
Yeah, huge take, and this is kind of a must hold for 489 here too, as the points are probably pretty even. That top side flip kind of just counteracting 27 WP holding the Sky Altar, but yeah, this Desert Altar hold is definitely essential for 489.
There's no way, right? Okay, then there's no way. Are you?
I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it.
There's no way that they have massive strategies that are going to steal the arc from 489, right? There's just no way, right? I mean, let's see. If they're able to get first tap on this, if they use master strategies now, no, I don't think they have master strategies on the board. I don't think it's going to be a steal here. But that would have been a crazy twist of events here.
My coins would love that. My coins would love to see Master Strategist right now.
It looks like that will not be the case. Although this arc is getting further and further away. But it looks like it was just a little bit of a mosquito poke. Overall, the points per minute going to 27 WP's favor, as the Desert Altar up here is still not generating points for 489. Sky Altar is generating points for 27 WP. But overall, 27 WP looking pretty comfortable there, up by about 800 points. They have a bunch of provisioners, and I expect to see a ton of provisioners coming up from 489, although 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that is not the same amount as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and this individual 14, 15, these guys are just wandering around in the desert trying to find the next camel. 27 WP, knowing how strong these provisions could be, trying to secure the game via provisions.
Nothing that we have not seen before in this Grand Prix, especially last week with, 2-3 matches winning on provisions. And yeah, I don't know if I see 489 kind of trying to make an attempt here to kind of counteract some of those provision points that are going to be coming in, but 27 WP has been doing so much longer and with much more provisioners. So this is going to go down to the wire.
This is going to go down to the wire indeed. All the structures now in their home team's state. Absolutely even map. So the question is now, will 27 WP, their provisioners score more than 3K? And it's not only more than 3K, it's 3K more than 489's provisioners, because 489's also provisioning. This arc score is going to be 4K. They're up by about 1K. So it's going to be up to these provisioners. If they're able to provision up more than 489's able to get with scores with the arc score and provision, which we're expecting about 6K, 7K in provisions from 27 WP. The real question is, will 489 be able to get 4K in provisions themselves to counteract the provisioners from 27 WP to win that game? It's going to be so interesting, as the provisioners yet again might be the highlight of this match, might be what allows either of these teams to win or go home. And you're just begging that these camels start giving you some points.
Yeah, you really want to beg on the camels, and then also too, these altars are going to be very key here as we close in on the last 10 minutes of this match. Every point is going to matter. You do not want to lose an altar at this point in the match. That is going to prove to be a huge detriment. What is it, about 2 minutes that you're not generating points for yourself, a little bit longer? So you can't afford to lose anything at this point.
This is an absolutely humongous attack from 489 on this Desert Altar, Dirty Dan. Look how many marches are here. 27 WP, if they're able to hold this structure, it's going to be absolutely huge for them, as the point differential continues to be even here. And you can see the rally now coming in. It is a Justinian with Attila. That has been the rally of choice from 489 on this Desert Altar. This Desert Altar getting so low, but getting some reinforcements, starting to cycle in these troops, and you could see there are a lot of marches coming in from 27 WP to defend against this 489 assaults. The rally is getting down there, Dirty Dan. If this rally falls, it's going to be absolutely huge for the defense here. The rally's getting lower and lower and lower. It has 1 HP. Rally down. Rally is down. And there are a lot of blue marches around here. They should be able to defend the structure. Earlier on in this game, this Desert Altar would have fallen, but 27 WP turned on the skill switch. They had a mid-game timeout or something, a mid-game pep talk, and now they're able to hold their structures, which is absolutely huge. That might have been a game-saving hold for them.
Yeah.
As this Desert Altar continues to generate some points.
I agree, and I'm curious to see what the end point total of this match is going to be, because we have to also keep in mind that for almost half the match that the altar wasn't generating any points.
That is true
for anyone, but 27 WP could have used those precious points. Even if it was 10 minutes, you're talking about 1,000 points worth of value from the altar. So I'm very, very curious to see what this last point total is going to be, as a Sky Altar under duress of 489 and 27 WP with a pretty nice presence here.
Sometimes the best defense is good offense, and those reinforcements are actually the marches that some of the marches that Sad faced away from the Desert Altar. So what this Sky Altar attack allows them to do, takes away the tempo from 489. The 489 have to respond to this Desert Altar assault because the Sky Altar assault, because if the Sky Altar falls, absolutely detrimental for them. But now the marches that could have perhaps been going straight to the Desert Altar are now going to the Sky Altar, denying precious seconds. This is what this game comes down to when it's this close. Precious seconds for these teams, as 27 WP are holding on for dear life and hoping that the provisions take them over the line.
Yeah, we got about almost, I would say, close to a 2,000 point score right now in favor of 27 WP. And yeah, I mean, every structure is going to be oh so crucial here. As 489 still has Arc in hand, so we're going to look at an actual score of 27.
It's going to be 27k to 25k. Essentially, you know, a 2k point differential between these two teams. And honestly, we've seen that these provisioner teams really make a difference with the provisions. I will say there are a lot more provisioners out there now from 489, so understanding what is going on, saying, hey, we need to provision up as well, as these Desert Altar assaults have been successful in the beginning of the match, not successful now.
Yeah, 27 WP, I really want to know what's going on in their voice call, because it's tale of two takes. This looks like two totally different teams here, as they now opt for that Heraclius once again. But yeah, 27 WP has done an amazing job, because with how slow they started coming out of the gate, that sometimes is really hard to come back from. We always talk about the importance of those first 15 minutes in an arc match, and just a really well executed response from 27 WP.
That has been a really well executed response indeed, as 8 minutes left. We expect this arc to be captured. Yeah, arc was just captured. So that will be the last arc of the game. This is going to be the true scores until the provisioners start coming in. And you could see everyone and their siege marches just looking for some camels. They're looking for some caravans. They're looking for whatever points they could scrounge out up in the desert. They're digging for gold right now, and they are looking for those points so that they can move on. Again, this is a win or go home. The current reigning champions 489 versus 27 WP, which have some of their championship team of last year, the Korean team here from 27 WP. An absolutely huge showing from them, but will it be enough? You could start to see that the points are actually going more towards 489's favor, because of, I believe, the outposts perhaps flipping, just not generating points. That's how close this game's getting. We're looking at outposts, as you could start to see the Sky Altar starting to get attacked from 27 WP, but 489 able just to insta swarm down that rally. Oof.
Yeah. There's
This
a
is
lot going on
49
in
using
the map right now.
using sneaky tactics. Looks like they're gonna sneaky tactics these marches around the Sky Altar so that they can perhaps get this Desert Altar, take them off guard. Perhaps also going to Shrine of Life if they want to go for a less variance play. But we could start to see that the rally is starting to come in from 489. It's been a rinse and repeat of this Desert Altar over and over and over again, but it has been 27 WP that has been able to defend this Desert Altar, which is exactly what they need to do. Dirty Dan, I will ask you, give me the scouting report for these gatherers. When they start coming home, I want you to yell it out to me. Yeah. We're going to go ahead and look at the gatherers, come back home, and we're going to be counting and looking at the scores here. Because this is going to be a rise of farmer type of arc as this Grand Prix has been. The farming, the provisions of these teams have been absolutely huge for them, as that is what it'll come down to with 5 minutes left in this match.
Yeah, and as I'm looking around, 49 does have some farm killers out trying to negate some of those points. So
yeah, I will say Leo brought up that there is 3.3k already in the hands of 27 WP. So that's a huge point because we've seen teams get 7k, but they are down by, they're still down with the provisioners. The farm killer is probably forcing those provisioners to come home, by the way, Dirty Dan. And yeah, now we're seeing that it's about like a 2.3k differential with them already having 3.3k points in provisions. They have about a 4,000 points gap between what we expect them to have, about that 7k points from provisions, right? So this is getting closer and closer and closer, and the margins continue to grow here. And although they have been gathering for quite some time, will it be enough? Will this gathering be enough for them to take the win? This is a huge gamble on their part, but they don't really have anything else they could do. They can't take structures. They can't really do anything else because they have so many gatherers out there. This is going to be coming down to the wire, Dirty Dan, and these gatherers have to come clutch.
Yeah, it's really the last call, right? Like you're not going to get many more points from these structures, right? You kind of just want to stay home and kind of, you know, take what you can get. But yeah, I mean, 489 is not going to let any of these structures go down easy. So you really do have to do kind of like this all-in farming call to you know, generate those extra little bit of points for you.
Yeah, I mean, these structures from both teams have been very, very stable for the past 20 minutes. And this is a flip of the script from what 27 WP has been for the first half of the match. This Desert Ultra did not generate points for the first half of the match. We'll see if that will be the difference between them winning or losing this game. If this Desert Ultra actually not generating points for that long will be the difference maker, or if their provisioners will be able to make up for that lack of points that this Desert Ultra has had in this match here. 3 minutes left. Gatherers still out. This is gonna come down to the wire. It is about a 2.6k differential so far.
Yeah, we're gonna start to see some starting to come back in a couple seconds here, Plato. Just to give you a little bit of a spoiler and a heads up that they are gonna start recalling soon.
Yep. This Shrine of War attack, though, is gonna be the last meaningful attack from either team here. Looks like it will be defended as Dirty Dan continues to give us the gathering report. But looking at the points, it's surprising that the lead continues to, you know, widen a little bit, or at least stay stable here.
Yeah, third. I'm a little ahead of you here. I'm trying not to give it too much, but there's about, at least on my screen, there's about 12 provisioners still out for 27 WP. There was a little bit more.
Assault.
Then they can't lose that.
They lost the Sky Altar. Wow.
Oh, no.
27 WP lost the Sky Altar. So that's going to be minus 300 points. Keep that in mind. It's going to be minus 300 points because of the Sky Altar flip. There's 2 minutes that they could have been generating points. They are not going to be generating points. So that's an absolutely huge take from 489 with how close this game is. 27WP using sneaky tactics to try to take back the Sky Altar, but the Sky Altar, it's essentially gone. There's no point of taking back the Sky Altar because it can no longer generate points for you. I don't know if it generates off the first tick for 489. Perhaps it does. Maybe that's why they're trying to take away the 150 point tick.
Yeah.
But you could start to see that the gatherers are starting to come back. This top side, they don't have that many gatherers up there. And the points, the gap has gone down a little bit, but it's not enough.
Not enough, yeah.
It is not enough. Let's see this bottom side.
He's gonna fall a little short here.
Oh my goodness. This bottom side, not enough either. They don't have any gatherers out there. They're still down by about 1.2k. And Dirty Dan, you were talking about that Desert Altar giving at least like 1k at least. At least. 27WP using master strategies, trying to flip this last second Sky Altar so that this last minute point does not generate points for these last minutes here. But no gatherers out on the map. This is an absolutely huge play from 489. They were able to match them in provisions.
Wow, that's huge. That's crazy. That's crazy.
With the lead that 27WP got in provisions, they start provisioning halfway through the match, Dirty Dan. And still, they were able to pretty much match 27WP in provisions. Absolutely huge play from 489. And you can see the point differential right now being that last arc. 400 points. And that last arc ended up being the game from 489. GG's to both teams.
What a
but
match.
489 able to hold back the provisioning game of 27WP. 27WP relying on those provisions, but it was not enough. The occupation score, the difference being that Desert Altar that wasn't captured. The arc score being that last arc that 489 was dominant in. And that last arc ended up being the difference as they won by about 3.9k-ish. Super close. It is 34.2 to 38.2. I have to say the other decimals. I have to say the full number, Dirty Dan. 34,292 points to 38,279 points. And that is the difference, Dirty Dan, between moving on and going home. 27WP, a huge shout out to them, but they will be going home as 489 will be versing the reigning Grand Prix champions. 489 will be versing 93T in the lower bracket next week. Dirty Dan, do you have any final notes?
Well, tune in, guys. Subscribe to the channel. Next week is going to be crazy. We'll be back tomorrow for the upper bracket as the Chinese server teams duke it out, and I believe there's 2 matches there tomorrow. So yeah, we'll be back. But man, this Grand Prix is so fun to watch. It's been a pleasure to cast with you, my friend.
And if you want to watch, if you like the cast and you want to watch Dirty Dan and I, we have our own channels down below. And we will catch you guys next time. Peace.